From Olympia, Washington, I'm Mark Lee Morrison, and you are listening to the 50th episode of Low Profile. Urge Overkill began in 1980 Chicago and carved their own path over the past several decades. In the 90s, they toured with bands who are household names now, and they reached that status on their own with their cover of Neil Diamond's Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. That was on the groundbreaking Pulp Fiction soundtrack. On this episode, Urge Overkill founders Eddie King Roser and Nash Cato join my guest co-host Casey Bruce and me to talk about their new album, We. They also talk about loaning their suits to their tour mates in Nirvana, the band's long hiatus following their 2 albums on Geffen Records, Nash's brief run as a solo artist, Jack Black's hand in resurrecting the group, and their admiration for other artists like Cheap Trick, Selena, and Wham. This was recorded at TCTV Studios, and this episode is the first in a series of new TV-style, low-profile programs. You'll be able to find a link to that if you want to watch it on this episode's website at lowprofilepodcast.com. As soon as that's available, you can find it there. Low Profile is listener-supported, which means that your donations keep these engines cranking out new episodes. If you'd like to contribute, the best way to do that is by signing up for flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/lowprofile at whatever rate is in your budget. This show also receives in-kind, non-monetary support from these independent Olympia, Washington businesses: San Francisco Street Bakery, Schwartz's Deli, Rainy Day Records, Old School Pizzeria, and Schurler Premium Shitty American Lager from Three Magnets Brewing Company. And thanks to Nathan Burko Gibson, who's donated the artwork for all of the Season 5 episodes. This is Low Profile. I'm Mark Lee Morrison. We got Casey Bruce here.
Hello.
And today we are talking to Nash Cato and Eddie King Roser of Urge Overkill. They've been a band for,
Well,
since 84?
mid-80s.
Mid-80s. And then there was a long time where they weren't a band.
Right, a couple of those, I think.
Now they are again.
Now they're a band.
Yeah, we talked to them for a good hour or so and got the inside scoop, I would say.
Yeah.
On a few elements.
Yeah, absolutely.
They filled us in about their first breakup and how they kind of came back together again. Got the backstory behind their new single, which is called Freedom.
Is a Wham cover.
And let's hear that right now.
But you know that I'll forgive you this once or twice forever. You could drag me to hell and back just as long as we're together. And you do. I don't want your freedom. I don't want to play around. I don't want nobody, baby. Part-time love just brings me down. I don't want your freedom. Don't want your freedom. Don't need your freedom. I just want you.
Well,
Okay.
all right. Well, it's been great talking to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Great interview. See ya.
Yeah. So here we are. It's been 10 years, at least, since Rock and Roll Submarine, and that was a beast. That album just totally slayed.
Agreed.
After waiting 15 years. And then you got another one coming out. This is going to come out right before the new album, We, drops. And it's been another decade. How How did you guys spend your time, if you don't mind us asking, in the interim?
Well, I guess Nash, we've been we've been
Well, we were traveling
we,
yeah,
we did
until
we did
COVID
do
reared its
one
ugly head.
we did do one big show at Wrigley Field with a Chicago lineup, sort of celebrating Dave Grohl kind of learned about punk rock as a kid in Chicago, and
With Naked Raygun.
he saw Naked Raygun as a child, and sort of had a homecoming Wrigley Field show, which he really is like a world dominance guy now, and he's sort of like, this is really, a big thing that this show sold out and that he could do it. But obviously, it was something that we wanted to be a part of. But we haven't done a whole lot of, touring, and we toured a little bit for Rock and Roll Submarine. But the way it went for I guess for our last record, Rock and Roll Submarine, was the inspiration, I guess, was we had kind of parted ways for good, as bands do, or so we thought, and there was some warming of the waters. We were all in Chicago. We had some mutual friends, and we were convinced to reunite for a show and see how it worked. We got Jack Black to sweeten the deal. He said, I'll open up for you guys. Just please play a show.
Awesome.
Wow.
And we ended up having quite a jolly time all around. And we sort of forgot what it was. The reasons we weren't speaking to each other were no longer apparent.
Yeah, the rift was invisible.
I think we realized that perhaps this whole thing had been a tremendous misunderstanding. We played a few shows, but we sort of felt like it would be a real feat to do a record that we felt deserved the name Urge Overkill. And that took some time, needless to say, from that first sort of quote, reunion show to Rock Sub was quite a journey, and some of the and I guess it was sort of a healing experience in that by the time Exit the Dragon was being recorded and released, part of the problems surrounding that is that we were all pretty deep into our own holes, and continuing with the band was literally seen as sort of a life and death matter. And I'm absolutely certain that had we not broken up the band at that time, somebody was going to end up dead. And that didn't happen.
Well,
And that happened.
Yeah.
And,
Thanks for breaking up then.
Yeah. Yeah, like were you scratching the music itch in another way?
You know,
I mean, all we
played-
did was tour and record for years, and we were just burned out.
Yeah.
I personally, I use the time as opposed to, you know, I've got a kid who's now ready to fly the coop. So I successfully raised a child to college age, and he's seems to be a well-raised young man.
Good work. Good work.
I never imagined would happen. And so I did busy myself with various pursuits that I always wanted to do, such as I actually learned how to play the drums properly. I could probably drum for a band now. We had inherited some stash of synthesizers that I realized were like ancient and worth a lot of money, and I figured out, you know, it's impossible. You turn them on. I remember I was like, I'm going to get out this Moog synthesizer and make it sing, baby. And I turned it on, and it made a horrible siren noise, and Soren started crying, and it's like I had to wait a few years because it made such a scary noise. He's like, became frightened of the synthesizer, but damn it, if I didn't take that time to become a pretty damn mean keyboardist. And if you know anything about me, I'm the shoot the keyboard guy.
And I was always, pushing for keyboards, just here and there on certain tracks.
Yeah.
And Ed was defiant. He's like, we're a rock band. We don't need, we don't need fucking keyboards. I'm like, yeah, but it's a really tasteful line or this and that. And it's just ironic that, years later, all of a sudden, he just started ripping open all these old cases. We had
I found a clavichord.
And
we had, turns out we had several Rhodes pianos, a Wurlitzer.
Yeah.
So
couple
I set
Rhodes,
that
couple
stuff up.
Whirlies, and then the Hohner clav,
Yeah.
and an Arp Omni, which was the string sound in just about all 70s recordings. Yeah.
I feel like I even heard a Mellotron on Exit the Dragon, at least at one point. Maybe that's my imagination.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a real Mellotron. It might have been, synthesized. But yeah, I mean, I know there's a Mellotron sound on. I Can't Stay Glad at You.
There is one on Wii. Yeah. Can't Stay Glad. That's correct. Yeah, we didn't take it to this. Neither one of us were spent this time taking it to the stage, as it were.
Yeah,
but
we're guitarists,
Yeah, but we've been, I've got, thousands of ideas on my iPhone. It's after a while, once the process of how, what a record means and what it means to do a record used to be this sort of, you had this tiny flash, you had this window where if you didn't get, you had to put everything you had into a few days of recording time.
Yeah,
and it was going to be, and you would hope that lightning would strike during this time. And luckily enough for us, I felt like with our Touch and Go records, we were a band like Urge did benefit from having these happy accidents happen when they had to happen, because you weren't going to be able to record a record in your basement or anything like that. And I think that sense of mystery and heightened that sense that this is a once in a lifetime thing. When you go to digital, it's sort of like, well, it's like whenever the occasion strikes, and if you have a chance to redo a vocal or a lyric a million times, it completely changed the psychology behind what it was to be a recording artist.
Yeah.
It was completely, to us, was kind of an ass backwards way of doing it where, you know, you had to go in there and whatever you did was going to be your record, for better or for worse. And, you know, we really, I think, maybe missed that sense of, okay, you get a chance to do it and it's done, because neither of us were particularly interested in becoming recordists or like engineer technology people. But you start working with people and you get, you know, you get to this idea where they're like, you know, you want to get it done and you want to, you know, really nail something first time, and everybody you work with is just like, oh, don't worry about it. It doesn't, you know, it's not happening. We'll just come back tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you know, we kind of tried to, you know, use techniques that would, we would keep our first run throughs through songs. And I think we did try to use the best sort of one take techniques that maybe isn't obvious on these last two records, but the ideas generated that we then had time to work on and finish. A lot of them are sort of first run or first, you know, listenable runs through songs, where that would be the demo we worked from and tried to keep the spirit of when the song was exciting and new.
I was always a quiet person. How could you know if you never talked to me? I was always a kind of person. What kind of person could walk all over me? How did I get? How'd I get in the way? How did I get? How did I get away? Am I happy? Am I happy today? I know I was always a kind of person. How could you know if you never talked to me? I was always a quiet person. What kind of person could walk all over me? How did I get? How'd I get in the way? How did I get? How did I get away? Am I happy or just lucky today? I know. Do 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 You're walking on the walls and I can't get in. You're on another world and I can't get in. And if you never talk to me, there's so much I don't know. I was always a quiet person. I was always a kind person. I was always a quiet person. What kind of person could walk all over me?
You know, nowadays that there are people who still use those old machines because they do something to your ideas, and they kind of squash them together in a way that's pleasurable to the ear. But yeah,
Did you guys produce the new record? We
We did indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And you self-released as well.
This one isn't self-released. It's Omnivore Records. It's good to have a record company again because the last one we did self-release, and it's nice to have some people help with the logistics and all that.
Yeah.
I think we're also going to do something with Jeff Tweedy too. So they've got, it's one of the labels that they don't have a huge staff, but they're doing re-releases and maybe more obscure releases that they feel need to see the light of day.
Matthew Sweet and Jeff Tweedy and Big Star, and you guys. That's a great label right there.
They're trying to sort of, nowadays you can sort of unearth, you can go back and find tapes that have never been released. And I know the president is on sort of a top secret mission now in Memphis to get the stems from some very famous. But I can't talk about that now.
Cool.
We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, Omnivore.
Yeah.
But
So how did your experience of self-releasing compare to, like, you did like the touch and go things, like Sub Pop singles, and then Geffen, like, and that's like, is that like a blow up moment for you guys?
Well, yeah, it was a great ride on Geffen, of course. All of a sudden we had a budget for everything.
We were, the zeitgeist, as it were, was all about guitars and our kind of music.
Come around to my way of thinking. Don't you want to get along? Every day just like a vacation with you. When I'm watching you and Fidel Castro in the sand, just saying, girl, you got to roll.
that era, I have to say for us, it was unfortunate in that I think we would have continued had it not been sort of the inner dramatics. You're into this life that you hope for and dream about, but it's things spun out crazier than we could have imagined. I don't know that we wouldn't have continued. That was our choice, and I guess people assume don't know this, but Nash and I were at an impasse, and we had 2 more records to do for Geffen. The president sat us down and said, "Look, we know your drummer's got problems. You guys can do whatever you want to." And they had a pile of money for us, and we're like, you know what? We don't think it's right to do another Urge record at this time. It's we're done now.
We were on the brink, it's teetering on the ledge at that time.
Yeah, I think those 2 albums were great. I mean, those are solid albums with Geffen. So I'm glad to hear that you guys were able to do what you wanted. And I mean, honestly, I think Rock and Roll Submarine and we both really sound like evolutions of what you were building at Geffen. So I think I just want to compliment you. And when I heard Rock and Roll Submarine, I felt like, oh yeah, this is Urge Overkill. This doesn't sound like an album that happened many years after the band's previous album,
Just sounds like the next logical step.
Yeah, completely. And that's not easy to do. Very few people pull that off.
I could not agree more. I mean, even though the time that lapsed between projects, every time, with Rock Sub and now it just sounded to us like the logical, like you say, evolutionary next step,
Which wasn't immediately obvious. Like, I don't think I realized how much Rock Sub was going to sound like an Urge record when we were done, because you're so deep into it. It's like, what are we doing? Who are we? And we played it for people. It's like, fuck, this sounds like a Touch and Go album or something. And it does retain the clangorous, going somewhere in a hurry sense of the early Urge was really, you take the heroin out of the mix, and I think we had a little more places to go after.
Funny
after
how that
works.
Nash, you did a solo record in the interim, though, the Debutante.
How do you even possibly know that? Nobody knew that record came out.
I just heard about it the other day because Markley told me about it. So
yeah, no, a friend of mine had it in his car back in the early ’aughties, and
my God.
Yeah,
I mean, we took time off, and Eddie did his. We each pursued, our respective solo projects, and but I mean that came and went. I mean, with no one really the wiser, which was all right, I guess. But I'm just shocked you even know about it. So.
I was in a car with my family driving somewhere, and this Steely Dan song comes on, and it sounds a little weird to me. I'm like, okay, it's a Steely Dan, and my brother had to tell me. My brother Dave was like, that's f***ing Nash Cato. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God.
yeah, that was on the radio. I'm like, I didn't even know about this. It was pretty good, Nash.
Yeah, well, we did do another one that we didn't put on the album. What was it?
Midnight Cruiser, yeah?
But that was a label. It was a good label. It was the one that Josh Homme, Stoney from
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam was sort of like, well, Nash, I want you to make an album, and you had a good track record with having put out that first Queens of the Stone Age album, which we were crazy about. When that happened, it was like, this is how rock should sound,
That's one of my favorite albums. Yeah,
and that's kind of how he came in with that, because they've always had they've been pals and stuff. So, and I think Stone decided, he thought better of being a record exec some years after that, but things changed quickly.
He kind of pulled the, and I love Stoney, but he kind of, I don't think deliberately, but inadvertently, certainly, kind of pulled the rug out from under that project. It was coming out on Loose Groove, his label. And then just before it was, they loaded it in the can and ready to fire, and he just sort of quietly sold the label. So I mean, it was sort of an abortion of sorts.
Yeah. But I don't think I could ever forgive Nash, though, for actually going on tour with Cheap Trick, which was the band that I had the posters up in my junior high.
Yeah.
And Nash is out on tour with Cheap Trick. That I could never hide.
Yeah, we did somehow find ourselves, opening for Cheap Trick for like a week. I mean,
Is that why you stayed broke up for so long?
They were rock gods to us.
So, Nash said that, with Robin Zander, I have no idea, how he's beyond human, but Nash was like, he was like smoking Lucky Strikes the whole time and still hitting these notes. I don't know.
Oh my God, true. He hit all his glory notes. I call them glory notes every night, but like when he wasn't singing, he'd be side stage, swigging, out of a bottle of like, Jack Daniels or something, and smoking, filterless Lucky Strikes, and then pick up the mic again, and he nailed every glory note. Like, how does this fuck do this?
That's his secret.
Yeah. I got into Cheap Trick later in college after so in high school, you guys were my very favorite band. So, and then later I discovered Cheap Trick, and I kind of, was like, oh, these guys, to me, Cheap Trick sounded like Urge Overkill. So I hope you guys appreciate that. So.
Any comparisons, there's been a few over the years, but anytime we were compared to Cheap Trick, I mean, it's just, nothing short of, an honor.
Yeah.
We got compared to Kiss a few times, which Ed and I did not understand.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
It also felt complimentary.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, like, you're both pretty theatric.
Mm-hmm. You both have a real aesthetic. Yeah.
With Rick Nielsen, I'm still like, I've been listening to his tunes for years, but when I sit down and realize his tunes, really, every one of them has some antecedent in a Beatles progression or something, but he does something with every song that's just so simple and brilliant. I've never run out of being amazed by those guys, and that being, they're rock for, it's like Illinois all the way, they're from here, and it's like so great. To me, that's the greatest rock ever, homegrown.
Yeah, and they were never afraid to wear their influences on their sleeve. I mean, Beatles, obviously, Big Star. They never tried to make it their own. I mean, they just hung it on their sleeve.
And from the years playing in bars, they've got all these covers that I didn't know they do. They do "Waiting for the Man." They do a VU that they've done for years. They're always kicking out something new that they say, "Oh yeah, we've been doing that for years." I saw them one summer, probably at their lowest point in their career. I saw them play a out of the way, really bad bar in Brainerd, Minnesota. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys never quit.
Well, yeah, I mean, they really, put in the time, paid their dues. the first time we met Xander, we were at some, playing some county fair somewhere, and we're standing in this, empty trailer. It's our dressing room, and there's a knock at the door, and we open up, and it's fucking Robin Xander. Like, what? And he walks in, he just looks around, doesn't say anything, and then peers through the blinds, of the trailer out at the fair, and says, "Corn dog circuit. I fucking hate it." that was his icebreaker. Corn dog circuit. I fucking hate it.
It's a good quote. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess I've been playing a lot of county fair. I never heard that term, corn dog circuit.
Yeah, I like it.
So,
That's brilliant.
yeah, but they were just swell guys, and they're older than we are.
I remember we hadn't met them before, and this is before Urge was really in the spotlight, as it were. But we had just finished doing we had a break. It was a break during recording Saturation, and we did that. Those background vocals that go, whoo, whoo, whoo. The in the chorus we do.
Yeah,
and
I know it well.
I'm not sure they wanted to hear this at their point of their career, but I remember I hadn't even met those guys, that they were playing some historic, they were playing their records at the Park West. Like one night they play each record. It was a legendary show. I remember.
Right.
I remember it was
that.
like, hey, really excited, like, we just totally ripped you off on this song we just recorded. And it's not exactly what he wanted to hear at the time. So silence, awkward silence.
Hey, look around today. Everything don't need to be the same. I'm feeling lonely, people just like
both kind of curious about your aesthetic in the 90s. Like, it was kind of the antithesis of what was popular. Like, everybody's like sort of unkempt and sloppy, and you guys are like dressed to the nines. You're really, you know, high fashion, sort of glam rock.
Kind of branded glam rock. Yeah.
Branding, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, we were sharp. We made sure we were sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the branding idea kind of came through. I think Nash was always an extremely competent visual artist and cartoonist, and we, I think, were one of the first bands to sort of self-consciously take up this sort of slick branding as an ironic thing, because when we sort of thought of all these ideas, this was before we thought that any noise rock band on Touch and Go was ever going to get arrested. So it sort of was all in good fun, you know. Even the idea of you know, it almost was a provocative move, because there was this ethos of sort of like, well, you don't want to be trying too hard to be like professional, or however professional you might be, you certainly don't want to appear that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were so into, you know, one band that did this shamelessly and with great effect was ZZ Top. We've always been into and had a good sense of fun with it. And as well, we were always into the Dusty Radio and a lot of the soul bands who were unashamedly smooth. And, you know, we were in the center of, you know, if we wanted to buy some sharp suits, Chicago and the 90s was the last place that they were selling like hotcakes. So we just go down to the south side and we had our pick of places. People were only more than happy to host us. But
I'm envious.
You know, a lot of this kind of was kind of provocative, just because it was just not done. Off stage, anybody who's in a rock band is a joker, and, you know, the gags go on forever, but that somehow didn't really it didn't extend to the on stage or something you shared with the audience so much. And we kind of wanted to maybe bring a little more fun back into it, or some nod to the fact that yeah, it's a show. The more we did it, the more we got a rise out of people who are like, well, you know what, what do you guys, it seemed to perplex people. And that was one thing that we liked to do, is just sort of push buttons or go the opposite way.
Get off of my back, you're dragging, I'm riding alone. I said get down, tread on your own heel. People, they surround me like you used to. I was telling you what you can't do, but they will never know the way that you feel. So what you gonna do
Hi, this is Devin Ratliff from Los Angeles, California. If you're enjoying Low Profile, please consider supporting the show by donating at patreon.com/lowprofile. It also helps a lot when you subscribe and give the show a good rating. And tell your friends. The Morrison family will be forever grateful, and it will help Markley to keep spending time on this work.
I can understand, the feelings of a 15-year-old, like, the angst and like the imagery on MTV is like, people in chains and burning in hell and all that.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, we're 25 years old. This is, for real? Are you kidding me now? I mean, it really was. We wanted to go the opposite. And the guys in the bands were the first people to really dig that, especially Nirvana. Kurt was like, you guys, this is brilliant. When can we get our suits? He was 100% behind
He was
that,
into it.
that philosophy.
When we toured with them, Kurt always insisted they wanted to wear our suits, but they didn't always.
Awesome.
Well, they're sweaty and stinky, but sure.
Awesome.
Right. It was inconvenient. We had to hire a guy to take care of them.
Wow.
They would get so wet. It's like you jumped in the ocean after a show. You couldn't go near them. So we had to, that was an extra expense. We had to have somebody made them and these days you'd probably be able to make disposable wear for that. It gets so nasty.
Hot tip for any up and coming bands: do not wear crushed velvet on stage.
Looks so good though. That 100% worked on me. I remember seeing you guys, like, I think on David Letterman, and going like, wow, what is this? This is like, this is speaking to me more than a lot of the, the popular loud rock bands were at the time. So, job well done. And I think you guys are really kind of ahead of.
I think that is true.
There.
Is for the, the grunge rock really was maybe laser focused on kids that were stuck at home with their parents and they had the TV, and we were like grown men who wanted to explore our artistic side, and we're really, I think, aimed at maybe we were a little ahead of our time.
Absolutely.
And that sort of irony was, I think, with Weezer came in in a big way, and it just Urge just kind of missed the wave of being a little bit too sophisticated, a couple of years earlier than the rest of the world believed, And by the time they caught up with us, we were deeply in our own a well of our own making. But I still have to say that the two records we did on Geffen were artistically successful in terms of even the darkness of the period of Exit the Dragon I felt was an artistic success. And that's the one thing, is like the label didn't come out and tell us, but like our pals in the industry were like, you dumbasses, all you had to do was remake Saturation and you guys would be fucking ruining the world right now. But, that's not the Urge way.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah. Nash, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I wanted to, we were both talking about the final song on Exit the Dragon.
Speaking of being ahead of the curve.
Digital Black epilogue.
Yeah. So it's about Selena, who had recently passed, and she wasn't she was world famous, but not mainstream, for the English speaking population.
Yeah, whereas now, you can buy a Selena record at Target.
Well, yeah, she had just died, and we were in the studio, and I kind of had the workings of that tune, but no lyric, and it just kind of presented itself. That's another recording that we just could not reproduce at Studio 4. So we used the original tracks, up the half-inch 8-track.
Yeah, the Selena thing, that was Nash's thing. I didn't even really know what was going on with that. it's amazing because she's still a very salient figure, and I don't know if anybody knows that Cato called it like 25 years ago.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she did enjoy much posthumous success. Just because she was murdered. But yeah, I mean that literally that was the headlines at the time, 94, 95. And yeah, we just I was just looking for something to sing about. I felt strongly about the music, but I wanted it to mean something.
But Nash, you were like in a fugue state about this stuff. It was like literally you only came out of this you only came out of the studio after the sun came up. We didn't know where you were, what you were doing. You were in another studio with like another guy who wasn't in the band for weeks.
Yeah, I remember. To finish that track, I do recall doing an all-nighter. In Studio B, just to finish it, and it was crazy. And needless to say, we had plenty of desserts.
You probably lost your mind. You had lost your mind.
Anything for Salinas, right?
Yeah. But I was really surprised at how well that turned out. I didn't imagine it being some sort of epic or anything, but we just kept piling shit on there, and it just it just has a great orchestral swell to it.
So long, Selena, girl, you had it all, and your life was only just beginning now.
And when the tears are gone, don't you know we still have the song, and we'll sing it down the road.
It's a real contrast how the album ends that way and then starts with jaywalking and just the breadth of the scope of that record. It was like you guys said, not a planned send off, but it was a nice big package to send off.
It's a very strange record, very dark record, but I mean, it really did reflect where we were as a band, as people, at the time.
It's always been difficult to sort of focus, some of the most successful bands kind of hone their, ZZ, or even bands from our era like Weezer. They kind of had they really were able to distill their sound, and we were just too restless artistically to really find a way to contain the Urge sound in one. It was always going to be diffuse and out of our control, and any attempts to kind of focus and refine it to make it more understandable or digestible just never worked. And I think that was another thing, is like when we were asked to do 2 more records, we're like, where do we even start? It's like, I don't know. And that's kind of, that's, I guess I'm proud of that now, but that's always been the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I mean, you have the word Overkill in you.
After Dragon, we were just done. Done. Like,
okay.
I mean, it's amazing that the three of us had survived that, but we really were done.
So I'm being told we've got another interview coming up. So.
All right. Well, before you go, whose idea was it to do a Wham cover and then use that as the lead-off single?
Well, we
Nash
just.
Cato's.
Yeah, I mean, the King and I were doing the only time we've done.
Yeah, we did hear the song, and we were like, "Who the f*** is this?" I wasn't familiar with it, and I don't think Nash was either. We liked the song.
We were on this acoustic tour, just the King and I, and and Coffee House Urge, and people seemed to dig it. We couldn't understand how people were so, but it's Europe, a little different over there, but they were really into it, and so we forged on, and I think I believe we were leaving Moscow, and kind of anxious to leave. It was a nice visit, but very strange, and we were leaving, and it was just and I and our TM driver, and so he had the radio on in the morning, and anything flies on Radio Free Europe, and this song came on, and I both were like, what the is this?
Your freedom, don't want you. Your freedom, don't need you. Your freedom, I don't know yet. Oh, never. I don't know yet. Oh, never. That's why I told you so. Just want you.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Great
We're
interview.
Thanks,
looking
gentlemen.
forward to your next album in 2033.
Can't wait.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thank
All right,
you.
brother. Cheers.
Okay, gotta go.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Low Profile, featuring an interview with Nash Cato and Eddie King Roser of the group Urge Overkill. Their new album, We, is out February 2022. If you like this show, there's more info on this and all previous episodes at lowprofilepodcast.com. This is Mark Lee Morrison. Feel free to send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. My address is lowprofilemarklee, that's MARKLY, @gmail.com.